Hello and welcome to another video. Today we are talking about the underrated style of Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean the fact that throughout the 11 seasons of The Walking Dead, Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick Grimes, wore numerous costumes and outfits that actually, even though they looked really simple on the surface, there was a massive amount of work, alteration and detail that went into all of his costumes. So, The Walking Dead started in 2010 with Andrew Lincoln as Rick Grimes. He would go on to play Rick Grimes all the way through until he left in season 9, and then he briefly reappeared at the end of season 11. Now, throughout that time, he wore numerous outfits and costumes, pretty much the same pair of trousers and boots for the whole time, but the most distinctive pieces that Rick wears that people seem to have latched onto and to have kind of gained that status symbol and that cult following are standing to the left and right of me. Those are, of course, his jackets. So in this video, we're going to talk predominantly just about the jackets. I mean, if you know me personally, you know I'm a massive Walking Dead fan. I have lots and lots of Walking Dead costume pieces, so I could probably make like a 3-hour video documenting everything that Rick ever wore, but trying to keep things doable, so we're just going to talk about the jackets, and specifically today we're going to talk about these two jackets because Rick actually wore a fair few jackets. You probably see them on the screen now. Those are all of his main ones from the show, but these are his two most iconic jackets. We have on my left the Levi's Tobacco Field jacket, and on my right the Ugg Suede Belfast Bomber. So we'll start by talking about the season 2 jacket, then we'll talk about the season 4 onwards jacket, talk about the modifications that were made to both of them, and then maybe we'll answer that ultimate question, is Rick Grimes a style icon? Could you actually go into the zombie apocalypse wearing the clothes that Rick Grimes wears and it would be convenient and doable? Maybe it would be, maybe it wouldn't. No, let's find out. So, we'll start with this jacket, the Series 2 Levi's Tobacco Field. So, to my right and to my left are Levi's Tobacco Field jackets. Obviously, you'll be able to notice, much like if you watch my Interstellar Carhartt video, that they aren't exactly the same. There are differences between the two. And that is because the costume designer, Yulin Coletti, I think I'm saying her name right, not 100% sure, did some modifications to this jacket when it appeared in the show. So on my right is a standard Levi's Tobacco Field jacket. If you were to search on eBay or Depop or Vinted or wherever and you manage to find one, this is what you are going to get. When the jacket then appeared in the show, I think it was season 2, episode 11 was its first appearance, Judge, Jury, Executioner. It looked like this, however, because the costume department had made alterations to the jacket. So what did they do? Well, first of all, they took these two panels on the top here that are kind of a bright orange colour on the original, and they changed them to a brown corduroy fabric. They took this corduroy fabric from a pair of Levi's corduroy jeans, and the reason they did this is to maintain that tonal palette of kind of sheriff colours, sheriff brown. Obviously, up until this point, Rick Grimes was still kind of wearing his sheriff shirt. He only recently took it off in Series 2. So the costume department wanted to put him in something that was kind of similar in tone. That is actually one of the things I really like about early Walking Dead seasons. It has such a distinctive colour palette running all the way through, and characters, even down to minute details, kind of signify their allegiances, if you like, through the colours that they wear. So for example, Rick Grimes, when he wears his sheriff uniform, he'll always have a white t-shirt underneath, whereas Shane will always have a black t-shirt underneath. So kind of subtle indicators of kind of their behavioural directions as the show goes on, if you like. So, first major alteration that they did was changing the corduroy panelling at the top as well. It hasn't been done on this jacket just because the reason why they did it was for the duty belt that Rick wears, but they also raised the bottom of the jacket up, so they shortened it by just over an inch or so, bringing this bottom button in just underneath the second off last button. That was so that you could still see Rick's duty belt over the jacket and it didn't kind of look a bit silly kind of hanging over the jacket there as well. They also shortened the collar as well, so you can see on the unmodified jacket on my right, really big, long kind of spread collar. On the altered version, this collar was reduced again, not by a massive amount, by about an inch or so, but yeah, they took that collar in as well. I don't know if there's a reason for them doing that. I personally think it just looks a bit better. I don't know why the collar's so big on this version, but yeah, they took it in, just made it a bit smaller. Other really minor modifications that they made is they took the Levi's logo off the breast pocket. You can still see the Levi's logo in the jacket. It's kind of on the major inside pocket there, this ginormous logo. And you do see that sometimes in behind the scenes pictures. I'll try and put one on the screen now if I can find it. And then some sort of shots where Rick is maybe moving dynamically and the jacket opens. Because they changed the panel on the top as well, these buttons had to be changed. They were no longer kind of Levi's branded buttons. They were just little sort of metal buttons with stars on them. And a fun little feature that they didn't actually replace is they didn't put a buttonhole on the corner here on this side of the jacket. So you can see on the original we have that buttonhole. They didn't actually put one on there, probably just because they were in a rush, probably because they didn't have time, probably because they didn't need to. So that is the Levi's Tobacco Field. As I said, first appeared in season 2, episode 11, which was Judge, Jury, Executioner, and its final appearance was in series 4, episode 16, and the title of the episode is just A, and it appears in various flashback sequences throughout the episode. So, I suppose the question we can ask ourselves is, what happened to this jacket? Well, based on the fact that we last see it in the flashbacks at the prison, and the governor invades the prison, presumably this jacket was left behind at the prison and would still be there to this day, just kind of rotting away in a cell somewhere, which is kind of sad. Even though this is probably not the most iconic jacket that Rick wears, I think when people think of Rick Grimes, they don't think of this jacket. I still think it's an absolutely wonderful jacket. It's probably my favourite Rick jacket because, again, I really love how it has the colour palette of the sheriff colours. Love the details and the modifications that went into it. Love the colour of the fabric as well, this kind of really washed out sort of beige colour to the denim. And I think that actually it's a really wonderful jacket. It's a really nice jacket to wear as well. It's maybe a little bit dated now. I don't know if you could wear this without looking kind of like you bought your jacket in 2010. But in terms of it being a Walking Dead jacket and a Rick jacket, I think it's a really nice stylish piece. And he must have found it in Herschel's farm somewhere. So it was very lucky that Herschel just had such a nice jacket just hanging around ready to be worn. And really quickly, here is the Levi's Tobacco Field on body. You can see that, again, it's a really nice thin summer jacket. Costume department kind of kept the sleeves long, so I didn't do anything with those because, again, they're just as long on Rick. But yeah, not much else to massively say about this. Just thought it was important, obviously, for you to see it on body and for you to see how this jacket kind of looks with a regular outfit. So that's the Levi's Tobacco Field jacket. I know that you're probably here for a particular reason, to see the jacket that is on or was on my right before. So let's move on to the next major jacket that Rick wears, and that jacket first appears in season 4 in the episode Claimed. It is, of course, the Ugg Suede Belfast Bomber. Alright, so here it is. This is the Ugg Suede Belfast Bomber. So in season 4, about midway through the season, when Rick has escaped Terminus, he goes into an abandoned house, and there he meets some claimers. He fights them off, and in the process he steals one of their jackets. That jacket is this. It's a brown suede leather jacket, and it was from Ugg. It's called the Ugg Suede Belfast Bomber. Now, a lot of modifications were made to this jacket as well, but in a kind of a more subtle way than the Levi's Tobacco Field. The main reason why these modifications were made was actually to mimic the comic jacket that Rick wears. When this jacket first appeared in episode, I remember there was a lot of discussion about, oh, this jacket is meant to be this jacket. And so you can kind of see on the screen there how they used the Ugg Belfast Bomber to kind of model it from Rick's jacket. If you were to buy this new, or if you were to have found one on eBay unmodified, it would have appeared and it would have looked like this. So you can see how buying it new, you have a much wider fur collar, you have a breast pocket here as well. And so there were several changes that were made in the show. In addition to the changes that were made, the Ugg jacket that we see on screen was also heavily distressed. So there were holes put in it, marks put in it, the zipper was damaged on one side, the lining on the back panel was removed as well, just to keep Andrew Lincoln cooler while filming. And because there were different versions of the jacket used throughout the show as well, sometimes Andrew Lincoln would wear a medium, sometimes he would wear a large, sometimes he'd wear an extra large, just depending on what the scene called for. And each sizing of the jacket would kind of give off a different vibe for Rick, a different look, just depending on kind of what they wanted from him in that scene, I suppose. So I think this is the iconic jacket, isn't it? This is the jacket that when people think of Rick Grimes, they think of. And running through some of the distinctive features of this, then you can see that this has been modified just like the one in the show. So we have the shorter shearling collar that has been reduced from its bigger size. Again, this was just matched to this green used jacket, kind of through references and guesswork, I suppose. Moving down, we have this patch here where the breast pocket would have been, but again, that has been removed, and then the panel above has kind of been repaired in regards to the stitching. We have zippers on both sides, and we have this kind of contrasting panel down the side here, and a lot of replica makers will try and match this, and they never do a really brilliant job, but you can see kind of how it's this elasticated fabric. It's almost a colour match for the brown suede, but in different lightings it can sometimes take on this kind of purpley quality that I don't know if the camera's really picking that up now or not, but seems to kind of appear on the jacket. Again, we've got these branded zippers, so these branded Ugg zippers, and the cuffs on the sleeves as well are branded Ugg as well. The costume department in the show did their best to remove these logos, but you can still see them on various points, such as the main front zipper still shows the word Ugg. So again, the jacket was able to be identified from that. Lining of this jacket is also very distinct. If I just open it, you can see here, it's kind of like a grey and purple, like faded check. And we've got a really nice Ugg branded inside pocket there as well. As I said before, the costume department removed some of this lining for Andrew Lincoln to be a bit cooler while filming in the sun, but the side panels were kind of left normal. And by the end of this jacket's run in the show, it was so kind of used and broken in that the lining almost just looked like a plain grey. It was so faded from like repeated washing of blood out of it, it was almost unrecognisable. So that's the Ugg jacket, and as I said, first appearance was in season 4 episode 11, Claimed, where Rick uses it to fight some saviours, and its last appearance was in series 8 episode 14, which was Still Gotta Mean Something, and it was worn when Rick and Morgan go to fight saviours. It's never seen again after that. Presumably Rick left it at the hilltop because that's where it appears in that episode, and so I suppose its ultimate fate, if we're trying to guess it, spoilers for the later seasons of The Walking Dead, it was probably still at the hilltop when the hilltop was destroyed, and that means that its ultimate fate was kind of disappearing into the wreckage of Hilltop, I suppose. So that's the Ugg jacket. Here is this jacket on body again, and also just for comparison's sake, I've put the Magnoli Clothiers replica next to it just so you can kind of see the difference between the two. As I say, it's again a very nice sort of light leather suede, if you like, has this lovely lining on the inside of it, and is a really nice comfortable jacket to wear. Rick predominantly just wears this with t-shirts, but there are a couple of times where Rick does pair the jacket with some shirts. So I suppose it's quite versatile in that regard as well. So there was a close-up look at both of Rick's iconic jackets. And I suppose we come back to that question from the beginning now of, are Rick's outfits convenient for the apocalypse? Well, I think the answer is probably no. It's probably not convenient to wear a paper-thin denim jacket in the zombie apocalypse, especially going into winter, nor is it convenient to wear a leather jacket with a fur collar in the zombie apocalypse either, when you're going to be splattering blood all over it every other day. However, logistically, probably not convenient. Aesthetically, absolutely. I mean, we can't deny that Rick's outfits throughout The Walking Dead are absolutely iconic, and every time Rick put this murder jacket on, as it was so affectionately named, people would get excited. You know, there would be chatter, there would be discourse about this jacket because it kind of became Rick's symbolic look, his iconic look that people associate with him in The Walking Dead. And I suppose that's the ultimate goal of costume design, isn't it? If you were to remove the visuals, just have a silhouette of Rick Grimes, would you still be able to recognise him? And I think the answer is yes. And that's because the costume designers and the team at The Walking Dead did such a good job at making such a distinctive style for Rick that even now, years and years after he wore these outfits for the first time, people are still looking for them, people are still hunting for them, and people are still talking about them, just like I am today. So, if you got this far through the video, thank you very much for watching. If there's anything else you'd like to know about either of these jackets, please just ask in the comments below. I'll probably miss something, but thank you very much. Until next time. Oh, and just for a final thought, because I saw this on Instagram recently as well. So this picture, is the cure to male loneliness having a cool jacket and making it your entire personality? Well, I think Rick Grimes would probably say yes. Do you agree? I definitely do.